Hello and welcome to Talking Defense, RAFAEL's defense magazine. Every program will be dedicated to a different subject with all relevant experts, data and aspects here in the studio and from around the world. And today, SPIKE NLOS. I'm joined now by Papier, Vice President for Marketing and Business Development at RAFAEL USA, and Lieutenant General Joseph Anderson, President and CEO of RSGS. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining me today. Mr. Papier, we'll start with you. Talk me through the missile, its range, capabilities, everything you can share with us.
Okay, so SPIKE NLOS is quite a unique missile. It's actually, there's a unique story behind it. The idea was born after the Yom Kippur War in 1973. We had a lot of casualties from combat within tank against tank. So the IDF had an operational requirement, an urgent operational requirement for a missile that can attack with no line of sight, hence the name NLOS, to very long range. The requirement then was around 10 kilometers. In 1974, RAFAEL, then a national lab, received this mission. And with a few crazy guys, they had to develop the first electro-optic anti-tank missile in the world. It took a few years, and in the early 80s, we had the first prototype that we call now SPIKE NLOS 1. And later on, during many years, we had the Mark II, Mark III, and today we are in Mark V, a very advanced missile. In the early 80s, this missile was integrated to vehicles and maritime platforms. And in 85, it was first integrated to a helicopter in the Israeli Air Force. It was a Cobra helicopter. Our engineers have convinced the Israeli Air Force that they should transition to an Israeli missile with a very long range. And the SPIKE NLOS was integrated first to a rotary platform. So what is the SPIKE NLOS today? SPIKE NLOS is an electro-optical missile. That means we have a seeker in front of the missile with two sensors, a day sensors and an infrared sensor. We have an onboard navigation system, an IMU, Inertial Measurement Unit, which enables to launch the missile with no line of sight to the target area. So imagine a scenario in which a helicopter pilot flies in the battlefield, receiving target coordinates from any sensor. It can be an infantry requesting support. It can be from a list of targets. Then he inputs this mission into the missile, launches the missile to these target coordinates. The missile flies to the target area, transmitting the video back, as you can see in the videos behind your eye. This image is actually in real time transmitted to the operator. So he actually feels like he's riding on the missile, if you can say, as a simple metaphor. And once he gets closer and closer, he can see more and more details and decide what to do. We call this man in the loop. The missile itself is for 32 kilometers, which is quite an amazing range. So this gives the ability to the operator to actually engage without seeing the target, just by receiving target data from afar. And as the target gets closer, he just take the cursor, place it on the target, and give small corrections upon impact.
Mr. Anderson from the US, thank you for joining us. Talk to us about the needs and challenges of the helicopter fleet within the armed forces in the US and how the NLOS can fit into that.
Yes, thank you. Well, the Apache is the primary air-ground integration platform for the military here, and the issue becomes one of standoff, lethality, precision, and survivability. And of course, the aviation fleet is a vulnerable asset in the sky. So whatever allows us to get those ranges, those are phenomenal ranges, to operate in a GPS-denied environment, to provide all that feedback back to the pilot from an intelligence perspective, damage battle assessment, and the options that it gives the pilot in terms of, again, changing a target, canceling a target, all that flexibility gives a lot of options and choices.
Once a commander or a decision maker has to take a decision between buying a new helicopter and upgrading an existing one through, for example, a SPIKE NLOS, what would you opt for?
I'd opt for the lower payoff of putting the missile on there versus worrying about the platform. The platform is fine. The issue is, again, this is an enabler. This SPIKE NLOS provides the capability to that platform to meet those criteria I talked about. It's not a function of replacing the helicopter. It's about making the helicopter more capable.
Gal, Papier, back to you. You know, lots of integration into that. You've said Mark V. I was thinking of, you know, a fifth generation sort of missile. Lots of technologies, AI, etc., within that weapon, right?
Yeah, this missile is quite cutting edge. We call it fifth generation from different reasons. This electro-optical seeker is actually with very high resolution. It enables the operator to see targets in very long range. As I said earlier, 32 kilometers. So this pilot can actually, in real time, make a decision. You said AI, artificial intelligence, but we understand as well that the man in the loop is so important. If you can see in this video that is now on the screen, you can see the TV written on the vehicle. It was a journalist crew, like a media team. So the operator, the pilot in this case, launched the missile thinking it's a target, and just a few seconds before impact, identifying it's uninvolved personnel. In this case, it's a media crew, and he has a miniature joystick. He gave a command and aborted mission. So AI is important, but we always say man in the loop. There's nothing like man in the loop, giving the ability to add to the technology.
Mr. Anderson, relying on your history in the field and your knowledge, how would such a weapon can change a battlefield?
It empowers you. So the example I can give you, when I was in Mosul, Iraq in 2003, when the U.S. invaded Iraq, I was the guy that was responsible for the death of Uday and Hussein. We took 6 hours. They were in a very fortified building. Marble, stone. We knew exactly what room they were in. It was a safe compartment room, and I could not get a missile in that room. If I could have, and we tried, if I could have gotten a missile in that room, this was in a neighborhood with lots of civilians, it would have enabled us to accomplish that mission in no time, what SPIKE NLOS would have gave me if I had had it at that time. So that's the kind of capabilities you want commanders.
Gal, any specific customer? Does it fit anyone, anywhere?
Actually, the SPIKE NLOS is a part of the SPIKE family. The family is now in 34 nations all around the world, 19 of them of NATO, so it's quite an empire. SPIKE NLOS specifically is in 10 nations, and it's integrated. It's a multi-platform missile, so it was integrated to multiple different type of vehicles, maritime boats, and if we're talking about helicopters, we've integrated it to the Apache Longbow, both in the Israeli Air Force, the D version, and we are now being evaluated by the Army Aviation of the US Army on the Echo version. It was integrated also to maritime helicopters, like the Wildcat, for example, and others.
And which feedbacks do you get from your users around the world, all of those countries that you've just mentioned?
We have actually the benefit that NATO organized an event. It's an annual event that all the nations come together. The US Army as well is joining this conference, so not only NATO, from Asia and South America as well. So all those nations are coming together, sharing tactical knowledge among them and with us as the OEM, and also with our partners around the world for manufacturing. And we see that they are quite happy. This gives them the survivability that they're looking for, so they can engage from long distance, and the lethality they're looking for. So it's actually, as the general said, it completes the capabilities of the platform, very advanced capability, giving it the ability to engage a target with no line of sight, enhancing the survivability of the force immediately.
Last word is yours, General Anderson.
This capability from, and again, as Papi's talking about, from the family of missiles. And so we're very anxious to demonstrate a live fire here in the States in January to again show our customers the capability of what this whole family provides. But it's a capability that I can speak for the U.S. Army, that the U.S. Army needs now.
Joseph Anderson, Gal Papier, thank you very much both for joining me. That's all from us today. We'll be back shortly with another edition of Talking Defense. Until then, stay safe and stay tuned. Bye-bye.